Yo, what is going on, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, we've got a banger for you guys. We're bringing you guys top 3 gods in every single role to play in ranked to guarantee you have a best chance to win these ranked games. We're gonna have builds for them. We're gonna have maybe a little bit of guides for them, how to play them when you are picking them. But mostly we're just gonna try to get you guys this information so you guys can start winning those ranked games. Starting with solo lane. Probably not too much of a surprise since you see this god banned all the time. Hades. This god is absolutely dominant in the laning phase. He scales well into the late game now because of how good Bancroft's Claw is. And he's just a very, very good god to have in your god pool. So if you have like a double physical ADC mid lane and then your jungler is also physical, this allows you to opt into a magical god. He is banned a lot, at least at like the rank I'm at. And I do see him banned a lot in other streams also. So don't expect him to get him every game because he is considered very strong for good reason. But these are the 2 builds. This one's more of an SPL level build. It's not great early game. You're mostly playing to just farm and get to the point where you're full build. I think the build's fine. I don't like it as much as I like this build, which is more of my style of play. I like dominating the laning phase with a Bancroft's Claw, going into the Typhons, Poly in the mid game so I can actually just one-shot. And then around here, I would get my Bancroft's Claw upgraded. You can get tier 1 sands whenever you want and then go into the alternate timeline at level 20, but Staff of Mirrodin and Ratatouille, this allows you to one-shot. You also can just 1v5 with this build with how much damage you're going to be doing, and you dominate the laning phase, which is what I prefer. However, this build, you'll be a little bit tankier, so it makes a little bit more sense at the SPL level since you kind of get blown up. Absolutely sick. Hades is insane. Next up, I talk about a lot on stream. I talk about how strong he is. I talked about it in like a lot of other videos where I talk about solo lane and stuff like that. Guan Yu, still absolutely dominant. A couple people aren't really liking the Breastplate of Valor on Guan. They maybe just go like Glad Shield here, and then they'll go like a Manticore down here, and this is what their build will end up looking like. And I think this is maybe a little bit better, but this is a little bit harder to play with in the laning phase than Breastplate is. I think Breastplate allows you to instantly just start stomping. Glad Shield is something where it's more, you'll do a little bit more damage, but you won't be as tanky. And I think Breastplate allows you to just trade a little bit better. But this build probably scales into the late game a little bit better, but I don't think it's significant enough. I think Breastplate is just a lot easier to use. And to play Guan, play through the laning phase, just try to survive the laning phase as much as you can, and then rotate and start team fighting as quick as you can. This character is an absolute bonkers team fighter. He's not a 1v1er. He plays mid game and late game very, very well. And then kind of play with your jungler or play with your backline in the late game. Next up, Odin, which is a little bit of a surprise to see Odin with such a high win rate. I think it's like 55% or something like that. But he is absolutely just stomping these games. Axe, Breastplate, Glad, Genji's, and Manticore Spirit's Robe. You are overcapping a little bit on CDR, but it doesn't really matter. Odin just uses all these items really well. And then if he doesn't have Breastplate, if he goes something for like Glad early game, he kind of just dies. But again, Odin is something you're just playing through the laning phase. You're playing to get to that mid to late game, and that's where you absolutely thrive. He can dive and just never die almost. I didn't choose which axe to go because it was about split half and half between Sundering Axe and Hero's Axe. And there was actually a little bit of Bluestone Brooch also. I'm pretty sure any of them will be fine. I would probably go Warrior's Axe, Sundering Axe, because I think that's your best chance to actually kill one of the people you're diving. Bluestone is fine, but I think it's just weaker late game than it used to be, so it doesn't feel as good, and it's also not as good in the laning phase as Axe. So I would go Axe, and I would probably opt into Sundering Axe. Now that we got solo lane out of the way, we can go to the most OP role in the game, Jungle, starting with Mercury. Mercury is looking fantastic right now in these games. He just power farms really well. He gets to late games and then he just beats down on objectives. I have the Jungle Golden Blade Rage Deathbringer. It's guaranteed in every build in this exact order. I think you can switch up the Golden Blade for something else, but I think Golden Blade is just so sick for farming. And then you opt into 2 of these items. They have some healing and you need some anti-heal. Shadow Steel is really strong. Wind Demon is always going to be really strong on Mercury. Bloodforge, if you want to just 1v5, try to get Penta. Probably my favorite style of Mercury. Serrated is really strong. Dom is really strong. Erendite's really strong. Any of these 2, just make sure you kind of get to that 20% pen. It doesn't matter that much if you don't. Like if you go Bloodforge and Wind Demon, just make sure you're hitting squishies and not hitting tanks. But if you're planning on killing tanks, you want to kill objectives as fast as you can. Wind Demon, Serrated is going to be very, very strong. Next up for junglers, are we even surprised? Erlang is dominating the queues. He's back. He's a menace. He abuses Mannequin. It makes it impossible to fight him in the early game. And with his new kit rework, he actually scales into the late game as like a 1v1er and a 1v2er very, very well. He reduces the damage dealt by the enemies, and he has 2 forms of, I think it's mitigation in his kit, or something like that. I guess he reduces their damage with his 1, and then his ult gives mitigations. Mannequins, and then you're choosing either Stone Cutting or Golden Blade. I like Stone Cutting because it allows you to just absolutely shred early game, and it's really good for objectives. Golden Blade is a little bit better option for farming and killing squishies. And then make sure you're getting kin size, make sure you're getting Executioner. Toxic Blade is built a lot, Berserkers is built a lot. And then probably have either Magi's or Mantle of Discord. And he's a very good heavy XP god if you don't have enough attack speed. But if you do have a lot of attack speed, just go into the Magi's cloak and get like a Magi's Revenge. It allows you to just 1v1 somebody if they get your Magi's. Lastly, for junglers, Ao Kwong, which was also pretty surprising. I didn't think he used Claw that well, but he seems to just be slaughtering everyone he comes across. He's got a very, very high win rate. Eye of the Jungle, Bancross, Typhons, Telkines, Ring of Akate, and Demonic Grip. I didn't see too much switch up from this build. A lot of them start with an early amount of lifesteal into triple attack speed ring. Some were building Magus, which was a bit strange, but I guess if you want to just kill that one person you're hitting and burst them as much as you can, Magus might be a better option than Hekate. So if you really do like Magus, you like how it feels, build Magus instead of Hekate. But overall, this build, absolutely insane. You farm meh early game, but as soon as you get this Bancroft's Claw on, you can 1v1 anyone. Staying with the mages, we have to talk about him again. Hades. The same reason he's OP in solo, he's OP in mid lane. He's very good early game. He scales well into the late game. Either of these 2 builds, yada, yada, yada. Hades, still OP. Bancroft's Claw. Lifesteal. Yeah. Next up, Hera. Surprisingly that she was actually this high in win rates. I don't really see her that much in my rank, but maybe I'm just always dodging her luckily because I feel like she is very, very strong. Sands into Warlocks is guaranteed in every single game. Second item changes between Book, Divine, and Deso. Do they have healing? Do you need anti-heal? Divine is OP. Do you want a one-shot? Book of Thoth is very strong. Do you want to just have perma cooldowns? Spear of Deso is very strong. And then just have Reaver, Staff of Mirrodin, and Obshard, and then build into Pendulum late game. Hera's somebody that you want to farm and get to late game. Her early game is actually pretty atrocious. Even her level 5 is not very good. But once you get to that second point into Argus, Argus just dives and never dies. Lastly, for the mages, Chang'e, which is the same type of build. And let me just touch on Mirrodin quick before carrying on. Mirrodin procs on the ultimate of Chang'e and Hera. So when you drop Argus, you're actually doing additional damage than your kit is saying you're going to be doing because you're getting 25% increased damage dealt as it's landing. It's the same thing with Chang'e. As soon as she tosses her ult out, she's going to be doing 25% extra damage. So say her ult hits for, we'll say 500 right now. It's hitting for 500. You're getting an extra 25% on top of that. So instead of hitting for 500, it's hitting for 625 damage. They abuse Mirrodin. They're very good at one-shotting. Anyway, Chang'e, you're playing to get to the late game. Sands, Warlocks, Mirrodin, Reaver, Obshard, and then Divine, Magus, Ratatouille. Any of these is your last item. She can be a Blink God and play as an assassin, and I actually think it's their better style when she plays with Beads Blink and just looks to one-shot the backline. But you can also play her the other way, front to back, just hitting who's ever in front of you, ulting the guy, and then just trying to burn the tank. But Chang'e, very strong right now. Next up for supports, we're not going to be talking about Yemoja, because I know a lot of you guys feel like she's not very good at your rank. So Yemoja's still very, very strong at the SPL level and high ranks. But if you're not at least Diamond, I would try to stay away from Yemoja and play Khepri instead. Khepri is insane right now. He's been insane since like season 2. He's always been like top 5. Maybe he slipped out of the meta for a little bit back in like season 3 or 4, maybe 5 or whatever it was. But he is just destroying queues. He's winning. His kit is just OP for ranked. Benevolence, Gauntlet of Thebes, Mail of Renewal. First 3 items, absolutely insane. His early game is not great, but it's solid. He wins laning phase. He can get kills in laning phase, but as soon as he rotates out of laning phase, his cooldowns are a little bit high and he's not that tanky. But as soon as he gets this Thebes online, this renewal online, he's very hard to deal with. He's very hard to kill, and he's always peeling out his team. After these 3 items, you're going to be wanting doing a combo of these. You could go Sov also if they have a lot of physical damage. But I would recommend, if you're playing support, to always keep an eye out for building Heartward Amulet right now. They just buffed Heartward Amulet again to being 20 magical protections. This item for now 2,100 gold is 55 protections, or 55 magical protections, 250 health, 20 protections to your teammates, also going to you, so that gives you 75 total, and then you're giving MP5 to you and everyone around you. It's statted out of its mind. The only problem, mages are not very great right now, so you're not really building Heartward Amulet, but it's still a fantastic item. Next up, Horus. With very little surprise, Horus is dominating ranked queues. The god that does more damage than probably any other support on one target and the burst damage and the setup and the laning phase. He's OP. No surprise there. Sentinels, for some reason, is being bought more on Horus. I think Horus is way, way, way better with Benevolence, but Sentinels is still fine. If you're more comfortable with Sentinels, build Sentinels. It's not that big of a deal, but Compassion in the late game with Horus is so strong. Thieves, Manticore, Cad Shield, Fabulous, Glide Shield. Almost always, this is what the builds look like when you're playing ranked and you want to carry. Glide Shield can be combo, or could be tossed out for Mail of Renewal or Emperor's late game. Sov if you want to go it a little bit earlier game, but this build looks perfectly fine. If you want to be just slightly tankier, build one of these ones instead. Or if you want to just play around objectives and Phoenix's Emperor's Armor. Next up, Ares. For some reason, I think people still underestimate how good Ares is. He's so hard to deal with when he gets to this mid game and he gets a couple items online. He is so hard to kill. And even in the laning phase, he's absolutely dominant. Play through your level 1 with your flames, clear out the wave. Your level 2, clear out the wave with your flames. And then level 3, put another point into your chains and just frag. He is so, so strong at level 3. Probably the best level 3 in the game, bar maybe like Terra, but he counters Terra. Like Atlas is okay also, but he's really good into Atlas. Cab's okay, who's actually pretty good into Ares, but like Ares is one of the best level 3s into the game. Play for your level 3 and then dominate at the level 3. Thieves, I think, is back on a lot of these characters. Thieves into Renewal is just so strong, and there's not really a great second item for supports. So I understand like the reasoning. Thieves, you want to get stacks on earlier. Renewal's better once you get some levels because it's percent healing. But still, Thebes, Sov, Pesty, Pridwin, Pythags, very good combo on Ares. You're not really going Renewal on Ares because you want to be as tanky as you can be right away. And Sov is going to be giving you that. So Thebes, Sov, and then you're going to be going into Sentinel's Embrace in the late game. Next up, ADCs. No surprise, Cupid's number 1. He's been number 1 for a while. He's dominant. Hunter's Cowl, Trans, Xe, Kins, Odibo, build into Wind Demon, Shadow Stealer, Aussie. In the laning phase, all you're doing is you're playing to just bully out the enemy ADC as much as you can. Ult him when you know you can get either his beads or his ult, and then just spam ping your jungler to come gank him or fight on the enemy blue buff. It's very simple. Cupid is the most like PvE, like you are just trying to help your team be able to kill your opponent. That's all you're trying to do. And he does it really well. He scales well into the late game still. And the Heart's pretty underrated, very strong. I think this one's gonna kind of be a surprise, but it makes sense. Soul. She got a little buff to her power, which makes it so she's gonna be, sorry, not to her power, to her percent damage on her abilities. She's gonna be doing just a little bit more damage overall. And then with Mannequin, she just dominates the laning phase. I actually saw a lot of Arrow also. So if you think Arrow is a little bit better, feel free to try Arrow. I think Mannequins is just better in the laning phase, and I think it makes her feel better. But if you're going into the late game, Arrow is very, very strong. Also, I saw both Nimble Bancrofts and Bancroft's Claw. I saw both of them. Now, I don't really know which one is better right now on Soul. I would preferably have, if they're diving me, I'd prefer they would have the Claw for some just extra shielding to live a little bit easier. But if they're not diving and they have like a big backline comp, Bancroft's or Nimble Bancroft is actually like a lot of attack speed. You're going to be getting like 30% attack speed, 20% attack speed, something like that, which is going to be incredible for objectives and just for team fighting. You should be dominating the laning phase with Soul, same as Cupid. She's also a very strong pick into Cupid because she just separates out. She's one of the few gods that Cupid actually can't bully, and she sustains evenly with them. Once you get to late game, she's really good on objectives with Mannequin's Mace, and that's why I like Mannequin's Mace a little bit more than the Arrow. But still, Soul, very, very strong if you need a magical god on your team. Lastly, for Hunters, the noob stomper herself is Inami. I think she's got a couple builds right now. She's got this crit variation with Dev Gloves and Death Temper, and then she's got more of a kill who's ever in front of her with Death Embrace. I actually think this build would be really, really strong in ranked because you're going to dominate the laning phase anyway. You're going to get these stacks online. And then late game, you'll be able to just walk to objectives and just almost solo them. Maybe not clearly solo them, but almost. This is with Bancroft's or with Silver Branch nerfed. It's still being built a lot in the build variation like this, but I don't know if it still is the best option. I think it looks good, but maybe there's a better option out there that I'm missing. If you guys have any ideas about what you think it is, let me know. But there it is, the top 3 gods to be playing in every role. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please leave a like, please subscribe. We are on the way to 10,000 subs. And I've been really enjoying making the content, so I hope you guys have been enjoying it. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace, peace.